Hey, Pet Boss Nation community, can you hear me all right? Let's see. I think I've got my audio on. Yes, yes, yes. All right. I am here today to talk to you about this mysterious canine respiratory illness and how it impacts your pet business, at least from my perspective, and what I have gone through personally, and what my advice to you would be on this scenario or in this situation. First and foremost, let me know who's here with me today. Say hello. That'll get us all warmed up while we wait for others to join us. I see Sally is here. Great to see you, Sally. Sally's one of our Pet Boss Club members. Today, I'm streaming on our Facebook page and our Facebook group and our client, the Pet Boss Club group. We're streaming on YouTube. We're over on LinkedIn and a lot of places. And the reason I am streaming in so many places is because I, as a business coach and as a former doggy daycare owner, former retailer, former grooming salon owner, and now kind of an industry, I feel like, business leader here, it was important to me to provide a space and a place to have a conversation around this, but also share some of how I would react if I still had my pet businesses, and was kind of how I'm feeling for you guys. So let's see, we got a lot of people saying hello. Great to see you. Good afternoon, Tracy. Great to see you guys. Hi, hi, hi. Hey, Pat. So fantastic to see you. Hello. And Lori's with us as well. Great to see you, Lori. So we have pet professionals tuning in from all over the US, probably Canada as well. And what we're here to talk about today is this mysterious canine respiratory illness that has, that is quickly spreading nationwide. So I think that they can say now that it is not a regional issue. It is becoming a nationwide issue in the States. And there's a lot of unknowns still about this, okay? And I am not a veterinarian. I am not a medical professional. Well, I'll say that multiple times. What I am is I am somebody who has been in your shoes before when I owned my doggy daycare. We had a daycare in Chicago during the canine influenza that spread through Chicago back in 2015. And I know for many of you, you've even either gone through something like that, or you have gotten through the pandemic, in your pet businesses. But for some of you, you might have a newer business, and this could be a very scary situation that you're facing. And I'm just going to tell you flat out that this is scary. It will be hard. It's going to be very challenging, especially if the illness comes to your area. Okay. But even if it doesn't come to your area, consumer behavior, kind of pet parent behavior, and fear and worry will impact your business, most likely. Okay. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It will. And so I'm going to share tips with you today. We're going to talk a little bit about what I know so far and my own research about it, some of the things you might already know yourselves. We'll talk about that today. We'll also talk about a couple things that I encourage you to do and some actions that you could take, and just kind of a perspective as you go through this. All right. So like I said, I'm not a veterinarian. I have not trained medically on any of this, but I'm here to support you and wanted to provide a space for you. So let's see. What happened in Chicago when I had my pet business is that we had about 80 dogs a day coming to daycare at that time. And when the canine flu came to Chicago, it got picked up by the news media and was spread quickly through the media. It was all the news talked about in and out. And yes, there were some dogs who got sick. And and then everyone was rushing to the vet offices. What they also ended up doing in Chicago was the city of Chicago closed all the dog parks, like chained them up, put signs on them, and were like, no dogs can go in public spaces at the public parks. They didn't force the doggy daycares to close or the grooming salons to close, but obviously this made a huge impact to our business. So we went from 80 dogs a day down to about 25 dogs a day within a 2-week period. And the crazier thing is that we didn't have a single case that we were aware of any dogs having shown any symptoms. It was truly the hesitation on the pet parent's part, or wanting to be safe about their pet, in providing their dog to come to their care. So it really was, it was kind of like, it was very financially challenging, right? Because to have that much of a big revenue loss and drop in such a quick amount of time was hard. And so that's why when I say this isn't going to be easy, it isn't going to be easy. Okay. So one, you'll have the worry of sales dropping and how you're going to fund that financially. And then two, the worry of pets getting sick in your care potentially. And obviously we would never want to lose a client to something like this. And so that's also a whole nother side of the stressors that you could potentially be feeling. The other hard part about all of this is that, you have to make some decisions for yourself. And I'm not here to tell you one way or the other what you should do or how to handle things in your business. But this will be a moment for you as an entrepreneur and as a leader in your company to have to say, where do I stand on certain things inside my company? What level of risk am I potentially willing to take? And how can I step up as a communicator of the company and help make sure that our customers know what's going on, know that we're on top of it, and then ensuring that your team also feels comfortable with potentially the decisions that you've made and how you're going to keep pets safe in your care. All right. So there's a lot to this. This is one of those moments where we get challenged as business owners. Running a small business is definitely not easy at all. So I already applaud you for doing this, but this is definitely one of those moments where you'll probably learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about your business as it goes through whatever this is going to look like for you. And it will look different for every one of us. It will look different for every niche within the industry too. And so I would encourage you, just as we're all going through this as an industry, is to not judge maybe decisions that other people have made or what they're doing, because again, situations are different in every part of the country and with every different business. All right. So here's what I know. Here's what I've been able to find out from just my own research online, which it seems like there's not a lot of reputable sources right now that can share much information because it is still such a new upper respiratory illness. Okay. And what I guess the problem is that dogs are like their incubation period is getting missed because the veterinarians aren't necessarily seeing the animals until they're already symptomatic. And it's a different strain of kennel cough, if that's even considered kennel cough. It's different. And so the methods they would use to treat it are not working, and they have to kind of figure out how to help, or even what this would be, right? This is as I guess is being called mysterious. So they do know that it's an upper respiratory illness. The Bordetella vaccine, which would help against kennel cough, is not necessarily working with this particular virus. Okay. And even the AVMA. Okay. So that's a great place to go, at least if you want to follow them on Facebook. I'm sure they've put out a couple posts, and the post that they just put out actually said that they just were encouraging people to at least avoid voluntary gatherings at this time. Okay. So that I feel like is potentially a guiding path for you as a business owner, is to think, is what I'm doing, a voluntary thing, let's say like a pictures with Santa situation, or is it a need? Okay. A need for people to need your services. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. So it is similar to a kennel cough. All right. But what is happening here is this kennel cough. And know this, kennel cough is really a big, broad statement for many different variants of upper respiratory issues. Okay. It's kind of like a blanket statement. You can ask your veterinarian about that. I've asked lots of them about that. And as a doggy daycare owner, it's almost like impossible to not have cases of kennel cough going through facilities at any given time, right? But this particular virus, what's happening is it is quickly leading to pneumonia, all right? Which then, if not treated, is causing heightened symptoms, worse pneumonia, right? And then, it could happen is death, right? And has happened. So that's when there's serious harm is happening. Again, from what I've heard and what the research I've done, which again, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a veterinarian, I'm not in the thick of it, is that, but even with what AVMA is saying, is that really it's about monitoring the symptoms, right? And if the symptoms can be treated early, that's better, obviously, but it's when the symptoms are present but not being treated and they're prolonged, or pet owners aren't going in for care, that pneumonia can develop. And then that's where it's kind of like not spirals out of control, but is more challenging, right? So as a pet professional, we have an opportunity there, and we'll talk about that too, as far as looking at what the symptoms are, potentially tracking in our businesses, symptomatic dogs or not symptomatic dogs, even though technically non-symptomatic dogs beforehand could be shedding this virus. All right. So it's really, truly nothing that we can control, right? It's not in our control. And so we have to look at what we know and what we can do. Okay. So let's talk about what those symptoms will be. I've got some notes I'm following here. So if you guys have questions at all, please put them in the chat. I can see it no matter where we're streaming from, all the different places. I see Tracy's dropped one. So we'll get to questions as well. Let's see here. So it is suspected that it's airborne, but of course, I think they also think it can have surface transmissions. There are, again, there's not a lot of knowns here. So people will say that humans could carry it from one, that could get on your clothing and it could get to another dog, or, that maybe it's nose to nose with the dogs, or that it's in shared water bowls, right? I think the point is that because there's still so many unknowns, it's hard to make decisions on what to do. But that's also where we start to see a lot of, I don't want to say panic, but but pet parents being nervous about this, which we're already seeing it. And there's a whole Facebook group with already almost 8,000 people in it, of pet parents sharing all their stories and what has happened. And so it's spreading, like the information about this is spreading. And there are probably lots of different situations with each health of every animal and how it impacts their health journey and into recovery, and how quickly they can recover or not, or how quickly they can recover or not recover from it. Right. So, but here's what I've been able to take away so far, right? It is airborne. It can still transfer through surfaces though. Dogs will be contagious before showing symptoms. That's about a 3 to 5 day incubation period. Then they're recommending that they're seeing recovery about 10 to 14 days after the initial symptoms. Right. And so that really returning back to play could be a safe bet, could be like a month after the symptoms have presented. Okay. And that's, again, it depends on every single dog. But I know that that's one of the questions coming up, is like, how quickly could somebody return to use your services? So there's already a lot of conversation around this through the news, through social media. And so I don't want you as a business owner to not be part of the conversation, because you are a trusted resource for the clients, your clients and the animals in your care. And so just like they want to hear from their veterinarians, they want to hear from you as well. Okay. And so, that we're going to have a lot of varying opinions in all of this. All right. Between different pet professionals. Some of you might say that don't take your dogs anywhere, right? Like, stop going to daycare. Don't get your dogs groomed. There might be pet professionals that say that. And will that work for some pet parents? Sure, that works. But is it realistic for everyone? No, right? Animals still need to be cared for while people go to work. Could it hurt your fellow business owner by saying that? Yes, it could. Could it hurt some dogs by saying that everybody's open and just go back to how things should be normally? Yes, it could, right? So it seems like there really isn't a winning situation here. There really isn't. But and this is where I come from my perspective, and kind of what I wanted to share with you is because I have been thinking about you all night long. It was keeping me up last night, thinking about what you're being faced with, what you have to do. And I just wanted to be able to share my perspective with you. And since I've been through this before, and really, my philosophy in life is that there are risks everywhere. There are risks all over. And at the end of the day, your business can choose to do what you want to do. And your customers have the right to choose what's right for their pets and their care and their life. And when I think about what we know for certain in this world is that there's so much that is out of our own control. And I think the main thing here is that why this is so scary is that we cannot control what is going to happen. And so we have to, in situations like this, at least this is what I like to do, is like to just look at what it is that I can control. And I, in this situation, think it might be your knowledge about the virus and about what is happening in your local community. So that would be a first tip for you is to actually do some research on this if you can and what's happening with the cases in your area. We can control who our contacts are. Like, do we have a veterinarian to on speed dial to keep us in the loop with what's going on? Do we have relationships within the industry, like the relationship you have here with Pet Boss Nation? So you can control those things. You can educate your staff and your customers. And you can control the messaging that's coming out of your facility, right? Through your social media, through your email messaging to your customer base, on the phone when your customers are calling and worry or wanting to cancel. And you can control the conversation when you're having one-on-one conversations in person as well. Okay. It's hard. It's going to be hard. But what I want you to do is I need you to take action immediately if you haven't. Okay. So as we talked about some of the things I'm suggesting here, I want you to act fast. And that's because I want you to know that, like I said earlier, we have more people who've joined now live, that within a 2-week period at my doggy daycare, when the Chicago canine flu hit, we went from 80 dogs a day down to 25 dogs a day within a 2-week period. And we had 0 symptomatic dogs. Okay. So it was more of what the feelings were for pet parents at that time, that they did not want to take their dog to public places, because that's what the messaging was that was out in Chicago was don't take your dogs anywhere. All right. So you never know how quickly it can turn around, which is why I wanted to, I encourage you to do these things quickly after we jump off here. Okay. If you haven't already, and know this too, that this has been going on. This respiratory illness has actually been floating around for a couple months now, actually. So some facilities, I don't know if it started over in Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, but I think they've been dealing with it for a few months. And so there are already a lot of daycares and pet care providers who have been maneuvering this. So it's not brand new, but I want you to, but now because it is kind of going nationwide, not kind of, it is nationwide. Now it's time to really act fast, because we want you to be at the forefront of it with your customers, like I said, because you're a leader in your business and in your industry and in your community. You are the decision maker, okay, in your business. Nobody else can decide for you what your plan and process is going to be. All right. So you need to come up with this, and you should come up with it with your team and all those contacts and resources that you have. Your customers and your team are looking to you for guidance. So make your plan now and move quick. And so that's kind of tip number 1, is that you need to map out your plan. Map out your plan. All phases of it. So before you can put a message out to your customers, I want you to think about, I think it's 3 phases. 1 is this first initial announcement and education to the consumer, because maybe they haven't heard about it yet. So what's your stance as a company? And I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, okay? But what is your initial announcement about the mystery canine respiratory illness? And what do you know? And where could you point people to? Or what is your initial protocol? We have some people in the Pet Boss Club who are at least sharing a graphic post, like putting a post up that says what they know, what their plans are to do. And we'll talk about some of them here. And then it's kind of just raising awareness, but that they haven't seen any cases of anything, and that business as usual. Right now, that's phase one. So you need to map out for yourself, what does that process look like? And then I want you to map out what happens when you start to have infected dogs in your care, right? Symptomatic dogs. What will happen then? What's the protocol? And then the last phase, I want you to map out, even if you're not there, I need you to think ahead of it. And you don't need all the nitty gritty details, but you need to start thinking about it. What will happen if you have to shut down? You have to close, because that has happened. It happened not to me when we had the canine flu in Chicago, because it had dwindled down and we were really tight monitoring all of the symptoms, and really encouraging our clients to, like, that really needed to come to daycare, to only come to daycare and not take their dogs like anywhere else if possible. And so, but there were a couple of daycares that got hit right away in the beginning, where almost all the dogs got infected. And so they had to shut down their facility, and they shut it down, I think, for like 3 weeks for all the client base to go the course of the symptoms, to clean their facility, and then to come back operating. I've just heard another doggy daycare that said that maybe, I think, 2/3 of the dogs started showing symptoms. So they went ahead and just closed for the rest of the week. So you need to think about that. What will you do? So here are some things as you map out your process and your plan, not process, but how you map out what your plan is going to be in each of these phases. I want you to think about, what will you do? So if you're a grooming salon or a doggy daycare or a dog walker, I mean, at a pet store, it might be, you probably still will see it, potentially the symptoms, but what will you do or to check symptomatic dog, like to check the symptoms on arrival? So we made a switch where at our doggy daycare, where every dog, it was a slower check-in process, but every dog got checked for symptoms upon arrival. And those symptoms are, I think I skipped through that part. Let me go to the symptoms. Okay, coughing, which progresses. If it progresses and gets worse over time, then that's serious. Coughing, hacking, eye and nasal discharge, lethargy, sneezing, loss of appetite, tiredness. Okay, those are all the typical symptoms of canine kennel cough, as well as fever. All right. So what will your symptom check process look like? Do you even need one? And at what point will you implement one? What are you going to do if you notice that you have a symptomatic dog in your care, either once they show up or while at your place? What are you going to do? Are you going to ask them to leave? Are you going to reschedule their appointment? Do you need to quarantine them? And do you have a space to quarantine them and move them to? At that point, is it, it's probably already been spread, but that might just make the rest of the pet parents that you're watching their animals, it might make them feel more comfortable that you have moved them to the other dog to a quarantine area. Or will you just move to quarantine and then have them immediately pick up? These are things that you just have to think about, and what your response might be to them. I'm not saying you have to do them. Just trying to share some helpful things to think about. Think about how many dogs would need to be infected before you choose to close. Will your cleaning procedures change? Maybe you decide you want to keep certain play groups together all the time and in their areas. Maybe you'll decide, maybe you're not a pet care provider, but you have a retail store and you have photos of Santa coming up. We've had that question just pop up in our community. So will you cancel the holiday photos? Maybe you'll just encourage social distancing and have people spread out in longer lengths of lines and not have the animals touching each other. Maybe you'll remove the shared water dishes and water bowls. So the first recommendation I have is to map out whatever plan you can in all of those phases. And I want you to think about really what you're the most comfortable with. You see, the person who shared that question in our Facebook group, they said that they were coming to the group to say, should I cancel my pictures? And I gave some advice, and I was like, well, it's really about what your gut's telling you to do, right? Like, what risk are you comfortable with? How bad are the cases in your area? Maybe they're not bad at all. I'm not telling everybody to stop their pictures. I'm not telling you to do that. It's up to you to assess what's happening in your town what's happening with your customer base, what's happening, what you're what you're comfortable with. It's up to you, but I'm just giving you some suggested ideas of things to think about. This person said that their gut just tells them to cancel the pictures, which for them, that might help them feel better about not cause them stress. There's a lot of value in that too. Okay, but you need to map out the different scenarios in those different phases. And the second thing here is that we need to talk to your customers. Okay, you are the expert. I've already kind of established that for you. I think that you should talk about it. So if you are nervous about, I don't really know that we have anything in our area, and here I'm going to go on my page or send an email and make my customers nervous about it. Yes, but I think it's better to get out in front of the stories and situations before they can spiral out of control. And you are a trusted authority to your customer base. And so even if you just let them know that this has, like I was watching a video earlier today from the Texas area, and that veterinarian and the news were like, well, we don't have any cases here, but here's like the map of the country and what's happening. And so, you could do something like that, because they're going to hear, your customers are going to hear about it, and it should come from you. Even if you do not have all the answers, they will find comfort in you holding their hand through this process and helping keep an eye on the symptoms of dogs in your area and in your care and in your business. So here are some things to communicate. You want to communicate that you're monitoring the situation. You want to share signs and symptoms with them and things to look for. You might even be able to like differentiate with them, like use it as a way to say, well, this is like the kind of eye discharge we're looking at and looking for. You can tell clients not to come if their pet is experiencing certain symptoms. And you can even frame it that your customer base is like the best customer base, and you are amazing pet parents, and you're all going to be supportive in this and only bring healthy animals to the facilities and stores if you wanted to do that. Make sure you're communicating how long you want them to stay at home. If a dog does show symptoms and can't come back to your care, are you going to decide that they need vet approval to come back first? And I also want you to go through your cleaning protocols, whatever that looks like for your business. I want you to share those cleaning protocols and what you've even beefed up. Go back to the days during the pandemic, and I'm sure you had a lot of things figured out for that. And you can bring some of them, if not all of them, at least for the canines, front and center again for you. So you can do a social media post, you can do some lives, you could do an email, you can talk about it in your lobby. And I've already mentioned this, but this is like the third piece to all of this, is that I want you to be proactive about it. Okay. So it is getting in front, talking about it is one thing. Okay. That's one way to be proactive about it and get ahead of it. But other things that you can do, you can find a veterinarian in your area who will be the main person that you stay in contact with, and that you have a pulse on what's going on in your community. You could even give referrals to them. You could team up with a dog, like if you're a doggy daycare, this is what we did. We worked with a dog walking and pet sitting company who was able to temporarily support our client base who was not comfortable coming to daycare anymore, or who wasn't able to come to daycare. And so we kind of I think we might have even had some staff that we could transition into a dog walker, pet sitter role to help service those clients temporarily until the daycare reopened. So like finding ways to collaborate with other businesses during this time might be helpful. Another way to be proactive is that I want you to track who is canceling and follow up with them. Okay. So if people call to cancel grooming appointments, or if they call to cancel boarding or whatever it is, keep track of who's doing that. And I want you to follow up with them in a couple weeks to see how their dog is doing and get them rebooked. I want you to track your cleaning. Make sure all of your staff is trained on symptoms and signs and cleaning processes. I need you to monitor your numbers, which I know you're probably doing, but monitor your numbers of revenue or people canceling, and adjust your staffing needs as needed. And just know that even though this might be really scary for you, is that you can only control what you can control. And this is a really crappy time for this to be happening because of the holiday season and boarding and daycare and all the shopping and all the people and all the crowds. So if there's any stress that this is causing you, just know that you can survive this. You will survive it, but that it will hopefully help you know that you are focusing on the only things that you can and that you can control in this situation. And so while these symptoms are severe and while the risk is high for dogs that end up continuing to get sick, the probability of it, of a lot of dogs passing, I don't think is very high compared to the population of animals. And that, I'm not a veterinarian or a medical expert in that, but that's what we saw the last time, is that there were only, I think, a handful of animals who passed, yet the whole system of canine care was like shut down in a sense in Chicago. And it was hard. It was really, really hard to get through, but we got through it. It took a couple months. All right. So if you're not experiencing this now, but it starts to come, it could be a couple months for you to get through this. And the pandemic showed us that it could take even longer depending on what the situation is. So this is why it's so important for us as business owners, for you as business owners, and what I harp on as a pet business coach is to help you have access to capital for times like this, okay? So I know this isn't going to help you immediately right now, but this is just the world, the universe, with gently reminding you that having a business savings account is so important. And why having at least 3 months of your expenses saved up or having access to finding capital for that, whether it's a credit line or friends and family, is so important. When the canine flu hit Chicago and I went from 80 dogs a day down to 25, my payroll, I think, was about $40,000 a month. It was crazy. My rent was outrageous. And I did not have that much in business savings. And so I had to put a lot of our bills on my personal credit cards, which sucked. It was horrible. And it was horrible. It was really hard, but we got through it. The business came back. Things improved. We learned a lot of lessons in that. That's why I'm saying that this is a moment in your business journey that will show you a lot about yourself. It will push you through some fears you might have or worries you might have, and it will really show you how amazing you really are. Okay, it will. It's one of those opportunities. So having access to capital will be important. Having a way to communicate with your customers is important, right? So social media, not just relying on that, but having your customers' contact information and emailing them, as well as having a community of peers to support you. So I'll stay on and answer questions and see what's come up in the chat. But my company, Pet Boss Nation, and myself as a business coach, we are here to support small business owners. And that is why we've created our programs like the Pet Boss Club, why we kind of help you build financially strong businesses, and that we provide the support system that you need to get there. So I really want you, if you're not a Pet Boss Club member, to consider joining us in the Pet Boss Club. You can do so right now if you wanted to. We're there to support you with all kinds of resources. You can do that at petbossclub.com and join, okay? This is what we do. We provide support when, not just when things get a little worrisome, but also all the time. We're here to support you all the time in your business building efforts. So I see some comments and questions have come through. I'm going to read through those. Obviously, please, if you are in one of our community groups, whether it's the Pet Boss Club or over in our free Facebook group, we can continue this conversation. I mean, you're welcome to comment on here too. Hopefully this has been helpful. I really love getting feedback. Honestly, I do. So thank you to this person who said, thank you for this. When I get feedback that things have been helpful, that continues to fuel, my effort and desire to want to be there to support you. So hopefully it has been good for you. Appreciate that. This person's asking for an article they can reference for their customers. On the AVM, I've been talking so long now, I'm mixing up my words here. I want to make sure I get it right. The AVMA's website, the American Veterinary Medical Association's website, they have a blog, like their news, and there's an article there. I have a link to it. I can't go right now while I'm streaming. I can't type in the comments, so I can go back and share that with you. One of the articles that they shared, and that's probably one of the best places to share. So we'll get that to you. But you can go to their website too. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, so Tracy's got a great question. She's saying, how does this affect retail stores that allow pet parents to bring their pets into the shop? You might just have a sign up that goes back to, like, we're practicing some canine social distancing, right? That there's a little canine flu going around, and we're put that sign up, or a little sidewalk sign, or you can even just let people know when they come in that there's a little bit of a canine influenza going around. So in the area, and you just want to try to encourage distance between people. Obviously, you can go around with disinfectant wipes along the edges of where the dogs typically are, but it is an airborne thing. You can get air filtration, puration systems. I mean, again, these are things that we don't know. We don't know if they actually are a huge help in preventing it, but at least we know that we're doing what we can, right? With given the circumstances and what we have. So if you want to do that, you can certainly do that. When I had the canine flu come through Chicago, we didn't change anything different at our store. I mean, we took up the water bowl, we did clean regularly, but we didn't stop people from bringing their pets in. It became such a hot topic that most people already shopped without their pets. So that's just another option. Yeah, like this person saying they removed the pet drinking fountain. Yeah. Yes. If you is there a map of lists where it's been reported? Yeah. I mean, you can even just Google mysterious canine influenza 2023 or illness 2023. It'll pop up a map, kind of what the news networks are using right now. It looks like there's maybe like 10 states potentially that are showing cases. But even then, if they are showing those cases, you might want to dig further into, well, how many cases do they have? Like I think the article that I can reference and share with you that the AVMA put out says that there were 200 cases in Oregon. So if you think about how many pets are probably owned in Oregon, and for them to see 200 cases, now that means that that's only the people who went and actually thought that there was something wrong and went. If we go back to even what we experienced with the pandemic, I mean, it's really about what numbers can actually be tracked, what is being tracked, and then is that enough for you to make a decision to change how you do business, or are you just wanting to be proactive and cautious about it? So this is all about your own individual businesses and what you're need to do for your area and your business and the pets in your care. Yes. So this person here, I haven't read the whole thing, but as a dog show vendor, we've been dealing with this in September. The story is that a golden retriever was sick at a dog show, then went to their nationals and got a lot of dogs sick. 16 Goldens died from the virus. Soon afterwards, many exhibitors canceled shows. I too canceled my booth space. It seems back to normal, but precautions are still in place. Wash your dog's feet before coming back into the house. Take off your shoes at the front door. Change clothes. Yeah, I mean, it cuts it off there, but I had also heard that a lot of this seemed like it had started in the dog show world, and it's been a hot topic. So yeah, it's been around now for a couple months. Tracy, your local news is probably already talking about it. So, but you could even just do a quick search and see if any of the news publications have picked it up. All right, let's see. This person here is saying, I've been running my Beyond Air scrubber all day and night and have amped up surface cleaning again to standards that mimic my COVID regime. Kennels have been pulled and spaced 3 feet apart. Yeah, that's a great tip. Beds removed and diligent cleaning of all of them. We've had no one ill here yet, but in time I will. Yeah, It's great that you're getting ahead of it. And so this is what I mean here about like, what's your plan? So we all have different kinds of businesses, but what is the plan? Are you going to rearrange the grooming tables? Are you going to change entrances for all the dogs come in one way, all the dogs leave a different way, so that there's not an opportunity for them to touch noses? Is there a protocol that you can put in place, like what this person's put here, that you can communicate to your customers? Because your customers are relying on you to share this information with them. Just like how I'm doing this Facebook Live right now to help you guys navigate this, you should do something similar and have a plan ready so that you can share that with your clients. Same thing. Yeah. Like this person here, they are booked solid. No plans to cancel. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have it in your area, you're going to take precautions to clean. I mean, the thing is that people still need to have their dogs cared for. You still have bills to pay. I mean, this is about whatever you need to do to ensure the safety of you and your team and your customers and your care. And it's totally up to you on how you want to maneuver this. Yeah, Patrick is saying he's a Pet Boss Club member. He's saying that he's been in contact with a really great veterinarian, and she just texted me that she feels that one of the bigger vet schools will eventually identify what the suspect is. Yeah, the virus. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. All right. I appreciate this comment here. Just that this has been seriously so helpful. None of the vet clinics in our area have said anything about it. Yeah, but that you feel more comfortable gently addressing it now. Yes. So that these are the hard conversations that we have to have sometimes as business owners. But I will tell you, I have had my own business since I was 24 years old. I am now 44, almost 45. And if there's one thing I have learned, is that it's better to be one of the people having the conversations first, and to be willing to get ahead of it than hiding behind things. Okay. So if it hasn't been talked about in your area, you can just lightly address it and say that because you are in, industry education groups, or because you're you pay attention to the happenings of what's going on for pet care, you've heard that that there's this illness that's going across the country, that you have done your research and it doesn't appear that anything's happening in your area at this time, but that you will keep your client base educated and up to date, and that you're going to go ahead and just start cleaning and doing these extra protocols to ensure the safety of pets, and that you will keep your pet parents like in the know as any information comes up, right? I mean, if I was a pet parent in your area, I would be like, yes, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Let me sign up for your email newsletter, right? I'm going to click follow or favorite this pet business because I want to stay in the know, right? So it's never a bad thing when you can present the information and educate your client base, right? Okay, I'm going to address this question here, and if you have another question, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to drop them, and then I'll have to hop off, and I can go back in the feed and respond to them. But this person saying, well, okay, worst case scenario, what if someone's dog gets sick and they died in their grooming salon, and they what's the liability there? Does signing a waiver protect you from that? Okay, I'm not an attorney, but I'm going to say that it doesn't. Signing waivers does not typically I think save you from that, because what potentially is going to happen is that you would still potentially be taken to, it's really up to the pet parent. So if the pet parent decides to sue you, let's say, then you'd still have to incur some attorney fees to protect yourself, or to not protect, but to defend yourself is the word I was looking for. However, your insurance policy will tell you exactly what type of coverage you would have. So I know if a dog were to be injured, let's say in or that had nothing to do with this flu situation, the dog died in your care. I think, and still in most states, dogs are considered property. And so they would only be covered, I think it's up to $2,500. So your insurance company would pay out the $2,500 to them for their dog. But let's say that dog incurred a lot of medical bills before it passed. That person would have to like countersue you in a sense for those extra medical bills, potentially. But every person's insurance coverage is a little different. But that's typically what happens, is that the dogs are still property. So it's a horrible situation, obviously, if that ever happens or would happen to you. And I would encourage you just to always have that open dialogue with your customer base and remind them that you treat these animals like family members as well, and that you're there to be of support to them, and that all was done that you could, and kind of take it situation or case by case from there. But the point of it and why I wanted to bring that up is that this is also another opportunity as a learning lesson as an entrepreneur to talk to our insurance agents and really give them this scenario and better understand your insurance coverage. At least that's how I started to learn about business insurance for myself, is that I had different scenarios happening, and I kept my insurance agent on speed dial, and I'd be able to get a hold of him and talk through if our policy would cover these scenarios or not. And it helped us get the right kind of coverage. So that's what I'm sharing here, guys, is that while there are so many unknowns with this canine respiratory illness still, and it's very scary, is what we do know is that we can control what we are in control of, which is our messaging as a company. We can control our cleaning protocols. We can control how well our staff is trained on handling these situations. We can look into financing or advancing of capital should revenue drop. We can make decisions to reduce or change hours if we need to. We can look at our insurance policy and see what kind of coverage we would have, right? Those are the proactive things that we could be doing. We could step out of fear and get in front of this and be brave to make that first post and message about it. Okay. You can do this. We are here to support you through this, as always. So I'm happy to have been as helpful for you today. I see Sally saying thank you for bringing it to our attention. She appreciates myself and the team. Thank you, Sally. We appreciate you. Sally's a Pet Boss Club member. If you liked today's session, if you want to get continued support, not just in this area, but in all areas of growing your business and helping you build a financially strong business, as well as having fun in the process, then you should join us in the Pet Boss Club, and you can do so at petbossclub.com. All right. Hope to see you there. And as this progresses, if you have questions or have additional resources to share with us, never hesitate to reach out. We are here to help you, Pet Boss. Okay. I will talk to you real soon. Have a nice holiday week. And just know that I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you over here. All right. Okay. You've got this. Bye-bye.